good day out there to all my listeners. And I'd like to welcome you to Is Your Way in Your Way podcast. I'm your host. My name is Cassandra Crawley Mayo. And for those new listeners out there, let me share with you what this podcast is all about. It's for those individuals who are stuck. You know, within yourself, within your heart of hearts, there's something that you want to do. There's a dream that you have, but you just can't seem to get it. You just like something's just holding you. And I say that because I've experienced this. So therefore, this podcast is also about for individuals to mitigate any of those self-imposed barriers that's preventing you from living your best life. And we talk about topics related to your personal development, some business development, and it also allows you to do some self-reflection. So today our topic is called How Can I Be Truthful to Me? And who do we have? My special guest to come on stage, and her name is Natalie Bedard, but they call her NatNat. So there are times that I'll say NatNat, and then there are times that I'll say Natalie. Okay. So Natalie, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm well, Cassandra, and I'm looking forward to being here. So thank you for having me and sharing your sacred space so that we can align, because your message is practically my message also, so that, everybody wants change in the world, yet the only change is within yourself, and you got to realize what your barriers are. So you have to be able
Absolutely.
to call that elephant in the room and call it out.
That's right. Excellent. Excellent. So what I'm going to do now, my listeners always want to get a little background before we get started. So I'm going to read some of your bio. As I indicated earlier, listeners, I said that Natalie is known affectionately as NatNat, a guiding light in the realm of energy healing. In 2019, she launched Lift Oneself, a platform that fosters self discovery and emotional healing. As a single mother of three boys and someone who has faced life threatening illness, Natalie embodies resilience. Her expertise in understanding the nervous system enables her to address emotional blockages and enhance intuitive connections effectively. Her approach is rooted in trauma informed practices. She offers transformative guidance to those seeking to unlock their fullest potential. Through her small, actionable steps, she empowers individuals to embrace growth and navigate their healing journeys with compassion and radical honesty. Let's join Natalie as she helps us unlock the mysteries of personal transformation and resilience. And listeners, Natalie and I were talking before we got started, and I was sharing with her, many of you are aware that I wrote a book titled Is Your Way in Your Way. And I was sharing with her that I had been wanting to write a book, as many of you know, for years, and I just could not seem to get to it. And then all of a sudden, I started worrying about what people were going to think about the things that I wrote or who's going to listen to my stories. And I could tell as I was sharing with her my experiences that she could relate. So we're going to talk about some of that as well. And I'm certain that she, like another thing I told her that I was perfectionist. And in the beginning, she already said something to me about it. Like she already knew that I had this perfectionist behavior. And she said that was a method of protection. So I want to kind of get into that too, because if that's the case, how can I be truthful to me? Right. So my first question to you is, prior to you committing your life to guiding others on their journey, what was your life like? What was your backstory like?
Well, as you were very gracious with the bio. I was almost like, who is she talking about? We can tend to forget the context of our life and what we've gone through. The life-threatening illness 10 years ago, I had lesions in my cerebellum and in my brainstem. And so I was hospitalized for almost 40 days and told
Mm,
that I had about 6 months to live. They didn't know what was causing the lesions. And so my body practically shut down. And
mhm.
so in that, I really got a firsthand seat with the nervous system and what goes on internally. Because I had to, bring back online thought processes and learning how to walk and talk and formulate all
Wow.
kinds of things. Yeah, it was a very scary yet very intimate experience.
Mm-hmm.
Previous to that, my previous life, I used to be a security investigator. Um,
Oh, sorry. What kind of investigator?
a security investigator.
Okay. Okay.
So with the Canadian government, I live in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So when you need those top secret clearances and secret clearances, I used to be the one that would do the interview to see how your background was. And
Mm-hmm.
with that, you learn a lot of human behavior. You hear a lot of stories because
Yeah.
people have to reveal their honesty. And so I always had a gift of listening to people and that they felt open to reveal their secrets to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because even some of my supervisors used to be like, why did they tell you that? Like, we would have never been able to find that in our research.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really tap into what that gift was. I just took it for granted that, well, everybody has this. There's nothing really
Right.
special about me. Yet once the lesions happened, that's where I started to engage with my own trauma from my
Mm.
childhood and
Okay.
how my nervous system was shaped with that. And it
Mm-hmm.
allowed me to get back connected with self and get back connected into my worth because I was disconnected from my worth for the majority of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so doing that work was warrior work. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and thankfully, I know at the beginning of before we started recording, you had said that you learned TM, which is transcendental meditation.
Mm-hmm.
So thankfully for TM, it actually brought profoundness, and I was able to go more deeper within myself and do the somatic release. So
Mm-hmm.
there's, emotions when we suppress them or certain experiences, if we haven't really felt our authentic emotions, they stay charged in our body. And so a
Mm-hmm.
somatic release allows those energies, those emotions, those frequencies to come out of the body with whatever way method the body needs to release it. And
Mm-hmm.
so by doing the meditation, I was able to get more and more profound of connecting into self. And you see, the thing about meditation is they tell you, as you probably know with the training, to do it twice a day for 20 minutes and to cultivate a quiet spot in your house.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert, I had twin boys that were 5 and I'm a solo parent.
Mm-hmm.
That's not happening.
Right.
So I had to take the meditation to the living room on the couch while the boys were fighting and listening to TV or
Mm-hmm.
doing whatever they're doing. So I got to see within myself how the nervous system tries to control things, tries to interrupt things, and I would just bring it back, bring it back. That's not yours, and better understand the impulsivity and understanding how we cut off curiosity, allowing curiosity just to see the story. We go with a lot of our judgment mind and
Mm-hmm.
interpret that we know what's going to happen rather than allowing things to be explored. And it's a challenging thing to do as a parent.
Yeah.
So by doing all that, it just brought me even more profoundly into myself and how I say cleaning out my vessel so that I can be an open, empty vessel to be able to receive and also give.
So when you started this work, what tell us about the lesions? Did they go away, or you were in the hospital for 40 days? So the healing, and I also want to talk about your the energy healing. What happened for you to actually feel better with your illness, or did you not feel better? Did the lesions go away? What happened with that when you started doing the meditation and your self discovery?
The mindfulness and the meditation, the lesions started to diminish, and the
Wow.
neurosci like, I was with a team of different specialists
Hmm.
to, look at this, so the lesions, started to diminish, yet there was still some scarring left in my brainstem and in my cerebellum, so, there's still, at times, pain in my mind, in my
Hmm.
brain,
Hmm.
and sometimes my energy just turns off. Yet, what I was before of not being able to walk and where I am now, this is
Yeah.
not the prognosis they had for me, and they don't understand how I got here,
Right.
and and I would explain the mindfulness and what I was doing internally. You know, I think the biggest part of healing is a lot of mindset work. You have to
Mhm.
face yourself. And I
Mhm.
faced myself because I had no other place to go because death
Right.
was on the door. A lot of
Okay.
us, if we don't really have something that's going to hold us accountable, we can squeeze our way out of really facing ourselves. So because I had death there and I was a parent to 2 young little boys, it
Yeah.
was like, I have to take care of me and find out what's going on with my body to be, still here in the longevity and everything else. So,
Mhm.
it took a lot of lifestyle changes. It took
Mhm.
me understanding my, anxiety and my trauma and how it was anchored into people pleasing. So,
Mhm.
there's 4 Fs with that fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. So I was in the
Mhm.
fawning. So I had
Mhm.
to engage with, you know, deactivating that people pleasing and not running and helping everybody else and thinking, "Oh, I don't need anything." I had to
Mhm.
start serving my needs and also, prioritizing the parenting role. It's so
Mm.
easy to be busy with, the career and with the friends and doing all these other things where it's kind of an escapism from being present with your children. Because when we're present with our children, they're showing a reflection to us that we need to look at, that we possibly may not want to look in that reflection because we don't want to do the work. Because how I
Mhm.
see it is the highest spiritual practice you can have is be a parent because you're going to learn so
Mhm.
much about yourself that you
Right.
may not want to see. Yet, if
Right.
you do engage with it, there's such a delight in it. There's an honesty in there.
Yeah, I remember you saying, I read something that said having a child helps one learn more about yourself. What did you learn about yourself when you had your children? You had three boys. What
Yes.
what did you learn?
I learned that I was in a lot of my masculine energy to protect myself because, like I said, when I had sexual trauma at a very young age,
Mm-hmm.
and some of my childhood, there was a lot of n- emotions weren't really validated.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a child, when you have sensitivity and you're trying to feel those emotions, it doesn't feel safe to actually feel the full spectrum of it. And
Right.
so my boys allowed me to see, you see, my oldest right now is 29 and the twins
Hmm.
are 14. How I
Okay.
parented my first child
Yeah.
is nothing to how I parent the twins right now, and that's because of the lesions also. It
Okay.
allowed me to see myself. My first child, I was so in the feeling not good enough that I wanted to build him up in such a way that you won't feel like a failure or you won't feel like you're lacking certain things. And
Mm-hmm.
in that caused some anxiety in him and some wounding. And then now with the twins, that not good enough feeling is still present, but nothing like it was because I'm willing to be accountable with it. I'm willing to acknowledge my stuff, not just shut it down and be like, that's your stuff and there's nothing about me that's in here. It's about having a dialogue and showing my humanness. I didn't really
Mm-hmm.
show my humanness with my first child.
Okay.
The sensitivity, I was there,
Yeah.
and mama bear and, don't mess with my cub and we'll be there. Yet the intimacy and the tenderness wasn't
Mm-hmm.
always there where
Okay.
I am with my twins now. So it allowed me to really come back into my feminine and allow that nurturing aspect and allow me to feel safe in my body. So that
Mm-hmm.
parenting has allowed me to come back into my body and create safety there.
Right, right. And we talked about a little about self-discovery. And a lot of today's society is a hurry up. Let's get it now. What's taking me so long to get this? And it's a process, and we gotta like trust the process. And if you want the change, you have to do something different. I mean, how bad do you want it? That's what it comes down to, in regards to being intentional. And I think for me, I was kind of sick and tired of being sick and tired. I just got to that place. So as they say, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. So certain things come to you, certain people come into your life to kind of help you through these things. Now, when you, so you're able to walk now, right?
Oh yeah, walk and run and dance.
Okay, you do all of that.
Yeah.
That's great. So once you were able to come back to more of your physical self, how long did it take? So you were even working during this time. Is that
No, I
correct?
actually had to retire. I was
Oh, you
blessed to
did?
be able to retire because, like I said, I worked in the government. So I
Yeah.
was able to take a disability, a pension disability because of that. So,
Oh,
and if I didn't have that, I don't know where I'd be right now because the financial stress that can wreak
exactly.
anybody's havoc, and even if they're in full health.
Exactly.
So, as I say, I'm very blessed in where I am. I know that there was an anointing of me being able to have a space to really understand the depths of healing and
Mm-hmm.
understand the nervous system and
Hmm.
really support the life that I'm engaged with and the space that I hold for others.
Okay. Now, like this is podcast is like, is your way in your way? So you realize during this illness, number one, you healed yourself. You did what you had to do to get better. Um, was it what you had gone through helped you to make a decision of the type of work you wanted to do? Was this the work you're doing now? Was that it probably wasn't a dream before it happened, but after your illness, it's like, how did that, because I want my listeners to listen to, you know, maybe you had a dream when you were younger, but as time passes and you go through different facets in life, you have something else, because people are really big on what my purpose is. What's my purpose? And they're trying to figure this out, and they're just unsettled about it. So, and I'm asking, so did you, what made you decide that you wanted to do this type of work and serve others?
Well, it wasn't really my decision. It's just an
Okay.
innate thing.
Okay.
You see, when I was young, I would say I was about 13, 14. I said that I was never going to have children. Because, like I
Mm,
said, I had trauma when I was young. So I
yeah.
didn't want to bring children into a world that was so cruel.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be a child psychologist. So that was in me, that I really
Mm,
understood children. I understood the pain and
okay.
everything else. Moving along, those around me didn't encourage me to follow through with that. They said that, education's too tough, and then that's going to require some entrepreneurship and it's taking too risks. So all the naysayers, I listened to that rather than what was in me.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
how life would have it, I
Yeah.
became a parent, and what better way to know child psychology yet be your own parent and have it very subjective. And like I said, with the security investigation work that I used to do, I was always told I was a sunshine in a very gloomy place. Because in
Mm-hmm.
security, it's very negative, and there's a lot of, things that you have to go through with humans that it's pretty dark. Yet I was
Mm-hmm.
always told, like, you're this sunshine, like, why are you here? And I used to not feel the full fulfillment of doing these interviews. And so
Okay.
once the lesions and me understanding the nervous system, just this innate wisdom started to develop within myself. And like I said, once I cleaned out my vessel, the, calling from within just activated more and more. And that's where I
Okay.
would come into my intuition. And
Okay.
so th I went to my doctor and said, like, "I wanna start helping others, with what my transformation was." And she said, "You almost died, and if you go
Mhm.
back into a workforce, the stress will kill you. Like,
Mm,
there's no negotiable with this." She was like,
yeah.
"I will allow you to do it part-time so that
Hmm.
you can, do it a little, yet as soon as, any symptoms or anything starts coming back, you gotta shut it down."
Yeah.
Like, no
Hmm.
negotiable, because, like,
Right.
your podcast says, in your own way, we don't always see what we're trying to attain, and my big thing is validation. So I need
Mm,
that validation that I'm worthy and I can contribute and see my worth. So
yeah.
really understanding that wound. So I meditated on the title of Lift Oneself. So I
Okay.
meditated to find out, okay, what if you want me doing this work, what does this look like? And so it came with lift oneself. So it's lifting the ego, which is the defense mechanisms of the nervous system that guard you from your vulnerability, so you
Mm-hmm.
can be oneself, the
Mm-hmm.
one energy that connects us all. And
Okay.
so that's where that name came from that meditation.
Okay.
And from that, as we had it, COVID happened, right? 6 months after I start my business. So I got to learn more about myself in the pandemic and my parenting, and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
dive even more deeper and simplify the language even more. Yet also cultivate the confidence that the things that I know, and how I can explain it, and that people can actually access the practical work. Because yes, like you said, if you want change, you want it bad enough, yet if you don't know how to do something, you're trying to do it and it's not working out. So it's like, what am I doing wrong? And
Yeah.
it's because a lot of us consume a lot of theories, but we don't put it into practical experience and lived
Mm-hmm.
experience. And to
Mm-hmm.
do that, as you can probably attest, being in that perfectionist part of the anxiety, being messy and making mistakes doesn't feel good. I
Yeah.
don't want to do that.
Right.
Yet, if you navigate in that, then you understand more. That is the process of learning and change.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Mm-hmm.
going to interact in places, yet it's also to start affirming yourself that you're good at things. Even
Right.
though that you may have been ingrained that it's not enough yet, or it's not there yet, or you aren't there yet, it's like, I'm actually good at things. I'm learning. I'm in the
Yeah.
process of getting better at things, yet I
Mm-hmm.
am actually good at contributing at certain things, and
Mm-hmm.
stand in your confidence of whatever it is that you're good at. There is
Mm.
something that you're good at.
Right.
Might be baking some, cornbread, or it might
Right.
be photography, or nurturing somebody, or listening. Yet there is something. So you have to start being grounded within yourself. So
Okay.
the work just innately became, and then people were coming to me and talking, and it's the co-regulation with the nervous system. And that's where it just became more and more that, okay, whatever you need me to do, I'll follow. Like,
Mm.
when I started this podcast back in 2021, I
Yes.
completely ruptured my Achilles. I launched it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I launched it, and then complete rupture. So I was doing interviews in my bed
Oh
and
my gosh.
my perfectionist was like, "I can do this. Like, this is not the way
Oh my.
it's supposed to be." And I
Right.
had to go through these life experiences of, no, you can make it whatever you want to. I
Mm.
think the biggest part of really understanding is remembering you have to give yourself permission. We
Right.
tend to
Mhm.
wait to get permission from others, and we forget that's our responsibility.
Right.
Give yourself the permission to take yourself off the hook.
Right. It's kind of like the title of this podcast is How Can I Be Truthful to Me? And it sounded like your meditation was the core.
Mhm.
So what so define, because I always hear, and I think it was like 2015 you said you found meditation.
Yeah.
Explain what meditation is. How did you find it?
Well, I was, a friend that is dear to me right now. She reached out when I first was ill in 2014.
Hmm.
She was getting a tug, about reach out to this girl, and she was like, "I am not," but she listened to the call. Like I always say, God is always calling. It's just sometimes people aren't answering the call because whatever the reason is. I'm
Yeah.
thankful she listened to the call. And she said to me one day, she was like, I'm gonna go learn about meditation because I wanna find out about it. You wanna join me? So I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, okay." So it wasn't anything that I was looking for.
Okay.
And, the day that we went to go learn it was the day of her brother's birthday, who had already transitioned, I think it was 8 years before. And
Mm.
so when you understand the other side of love, and if you really understand the connection of ancestors and how you can be guided with a higher power, you
Hmm.
just surrender into that. And so by learning, by listening to her and her bringing me there, that's how I went into the meditation. And I learned with a mantra at first with TM, yet
Okay.
now I just go with the breath. And if you would honor me, would I be able to guide you in like a 2-minute meditation right now for you and the listeners?
Sure. Absolutely. Well, could you tell us what your mantra was?
You know what, Cassandra? I
You don't
don't
remember.
remember. I
Wow. But
don't.
yeah.
I
Okay.
I I don't, and somebody asked me that, like I've been asked that a few times on
Hmm.
interviews, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't even
Don't
remember
remember.
because they make
Okay.
a certain mantra for you, so a
Okay.
certain sound that they connect. But I don't remember, and I'm gonna really have to meditate and try to bring that recall of what that was. I know I could use something to bring me into the nervous system and just be in that stillness. Yet,
Hmm.
yeah, I
Hmm.
don't recall what it was. Do you know yours?
I have, I have, it, mine are not, I have different ones. So it's really not a mantra, and I always use things, I use a lot of scriptures for me,
Okay.
to kind of help me to get out of myself. Like, um, you're wonderfully made. I'll say something like that, or you are value. All things work together for good according to your purpose. So it's kind of like things just come up,
Mhm.
or God, you said you died so that I could live. Okay, so I remember my hard times. I used to say, well, you said that if I gave my life over to you, things would be great. I could live more abundantly, and I'm not living more abundantly. So what's the deal? So and you talked about curiosity, and I think curiosity is an element of wisdom, to be curious about certain things. And I used to test God. If you said that, you love me, what do you mean? Show me. I don't feel like you love me, and what I was finding out, I didn't love myself. So I would just use certain scriptures that would just come up based on what I'm going through. So I
Mhm.
have, to answer your question, I just have different ones. I don't have one specific one.
Yeah. Well, with
Yeah.
TM, it's not words as a mantra, it's a sound. So they
Okay.
connect 2 different sounds, so it distracts the analytical mind so
Okay.
that you can just go more profoundly into the subconscious and then
Okay.
into the stillness and everything else. So that's what they use with transcendental meditation. It's
Okay. So,
not a specific word, it's sounds that you're using.
right. So the process and what we're talking about now is um, ways how we can be truthful to ourselves. It's like our listeners, stuff. They want to do this. They want to change jobs. They want to get out of a relationship. They know that's not working for them, or they want to be an entrepreneur. They want to write a book. So
Mhm.
we're talking about things that can help or support them to move
Mhm.
forward. Is that what we're going to do? How can I be truthful to me?
We're going to do a meditation and we're going to do a meditation. We're going to get guided by the breath so I can
Okay.
bring you into emptiness so
Okay.
that you can see that there's another dimension in you because a lot of people don't even know there's another dimension within themselves.
Okay. All right.
And so I'm going to bring them in there and so that they can see something more profound within themselves.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Eh,
Let me ask you this before we get moving. Um, and I want you to talk to people. Say, I'm trying, but I didn't. I can't get there. I'm not getting this. What do you say to individual? And I guess that's the perfectionist, or like, as you indicated, doesn't mean everything's going to be quiet because you had your boys and everything wasn't quiet. But yet, it's just like hypnosis. People are like, oh, you can't do this to me. You can't hypnotize. All these doubts.
yeah,
And I
that's fine.
think, okay, all right.
That's protection. That's your inner critic. I call it the inner critic. It's part of that's the job of the nervous system.
Okay.
That's the job of the defense mechanisms that we're going to protect you from going into your vulnerability.
Okay.
You're not
Good.
safe to go into your vulnerability. So
Mm-hmm.
it's better understanding why there's all these naysayers and why, our nervous system's built out of negative bias. It's always looking for problems.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't allow yourself to disarm the nervous system and get into your executive function, the front of your frontal lobe of your brain, you're not able to get to the solutions and the possibilities and that creativity and curiosity.
Okay.
Yet you need safety. When
Right.
people
Okay.
are like, I'm not able to do this, I'm not able to do that, it's because they don't even able to acknowledge that they're feeling fear. Our
Okay.
society
That's
doesn't
good.
even allow us the safety to say, I'm afraid. Because what happens? Don't do that. You're not supposed to be afraid. You're not supposed to, rather than
Mhm.
question, well, what's the fear saying?
Mhm.
Well, it's saying I'm
Okay.
not good at this. Is that valid? So
Mhm.
it's to work with people, not shut them off and tell them they shouldn't be experiencing what they're experiencing.
Right.
It's meeting them in their experience so that they can come out of the pit wherever they are.
Okay.
We want to
Good.
pull people out and then they go right back in, where it's like you want to empower them so they understand where their mind is bringing them.
Right. So this is kind of like a methodology that would help people to unlock their full
Yes.
potential. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
'Cause
All right.
everything's within
Okay.
ourselves.
Okay. I'm just reiterating for my listeners because I know some of them and they're like, oh, okay, here we go.
Whatever. I know.
Right.
You know, and I always make fun because I'm like, stop telling me to breathe. I don't want to hear about breathing. It's garbage. And I already do that on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
What's missing is you're not bringing your awareness to your breath.
Mm-hmm.
You're not being aware of what's going on internally. You
Mm-hmm.
probably don't even know how to acknowledge what emotions you're feeling in the moment.
Okay.
You don't know how to be intimate and be honest about what, and it doesn't mean it's just one emotion. There can be a plethora. There can be
Right.
conflict going on. Yet I am not able to feel my emotions because I have to keep just pushing through.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
You pushing through, or are you able to really be connected? Are you seeing the gentleness in the face of somebody that's in front of you? Do you see all their character features? Do you
Mm-hmm.
actually feel your own tenderness? Can you see the sensitivity for yourself?
Mm-hmm.
But I
So
get
this
it.
is, yeah, so this is kind of like the power of mindfulness.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
It's regulating the nervous system. When the nervous
Okay.
system's activated, it changes our perception. We
All right.
don't we were not able we're locked into rigidness. When it's
Mm-hmm.
deactivated, you're open and fluid and,
Mm-hmm.
people can say things and it's not hitting you the same way. When you're
Mm-hmm.
frustrated or angry and somebody says something,
Mm-hmm.
woo,
Mm-hmm.
that hit
Right.
different. But if I'm in a loose state, say whatever you wanna say, it's not bothering me.
That's right. That's
So
right.
it's our states of our nervous system of how the information's being interpreted.
Not this just came up in my spirit. I was thinking about when people drink alcohol
Yeah,
and and alcoholic or not, but they drink, and I find that they're more open, more vulnerable,
yeah.
when they do that. So how does that relate to what we're getting ready to do? Or does it?
Well,
Because they're hiding something that,
yeah,
right.
like,
Mhm.
drinking is another coping method. A lot of
Okay.
times people are drinking because of this social anxiety.
Yeah. Hmm.
Unless they're a lonely drinker and they drink on their own. Yet a lot of times it's been embedded in our society that we need to drink to be able to be in connection with each other. That
Hmm.
drinking helps to communicate, which is true because we understand like, oh, must people go and talk some things and they think, well, truth hurts. And it's like, well, no, the way you present things, you have
Right.
to be responsible for that. You're not just able to just do verbal diarrhea on everybody because
Right.
of what you're feeling.
Okay.
What I'm doing is bringing you into honesty without needing substance,
Okay.
because those substance numb a certain part of you being able to be vulnerable on your own. You're
Okay.
using some liquid courage, and then once the liquid courage goes away, then you get a bit of a truth hangover, and then there's more armament, and you can be more prickly with people. And then
Okay.
there's this passive aggressive and these different things that go on. So what I'm doing is you can access these chemicals without any external substances. You
Okay.
can be high on your own supply, and you can
Mm,
access it anywhere. You don't need to go somewhere. It's always within your reach.
good.
And
Okay.
we don't know, to and it's a lot of times people are like, "Okay, well, I wanna learn how to do this when the fire's here," and it's like, well, you don't learn something in a high state. You learn it when in the day to day so that when there is a high state,
You're
you'll
ready.
know to access it.
Mhm.
Because when you're
Right.
in a high state, you aren't trying to access your breath. You're trying to
Mhm.
get rid of the hot potato of whatever's going on
Mhm.
inside you. You haven't learned to regulate, to take a breath and, inquire, what am I feeling inside? What's
Mm.
really going on? What's this process? So
Right.
that's that emotional intelligence and being able to validate yourself and,
Okay.
and acknowledge things.
Okay. I'm
But it's a
ready.
process. This
Okay.
isn't no miracle cure or anything like
Sure.
that. It's letting you know that there's a different way and there's a power that you're able to access.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Uh-huh.
So, for the listeners, because a lot of people listen to a podcast driving, so
Yeah.
safety first, please don't close your eyes. Yet the other prompts you're able to follow that I'm going to guide Cassandra and myself in. So,
Mm-hmm.
Cassandra, I'm going to ask you to get comfortable in your seating,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to gently close your eyes. And you're going to begin breathing in and out through your nose. You're going to bring your awareness to watching your breath go in and out through your nose. You're not going to try and control your breath. You're just going to bring your awareness to watching the rhythm of your breath. By now, there may be some sensations or feelings coming up in the body. It's okay. Let them come up. You're safe to feel. You're safe to let go. Surrender the need to control. Release the need to resist and just be. Be with your breath. Drop into your body. And keep your awareness on your breath. By now, there may have been thoughts or memories that have come up, and it's okay. Gently bring your awareness back to your breath, creating a space between your awareness and your thoughts. And just staying with your breath and going deeper into your body. Again, more thoughts may have come in, and it's okay. Just gently bring that awareness back to your breath, creating space between the awareness and the thoughts. And just being in your breath and going deeper into your body. And just going deeper and being with that breath. And just letting go and being open. Now, while still staying with your breath, at your own time and at your own pace, you're going to slowly open your eyes while staying with your breath. Now, how was your experience with that?
Well, my experience was number one, I was at hunger pains. Okay. I'm like, oh, I'm hungry. And then what was interesting for me is I was thinking about what I should have said. Like, for example, when I was in the process of quoting scriptures, I forgot them. And I'm like, but I know them. So in my head, I was like, oh, I should have said, you died so that I may live life more abundantly. What's up? Not saying, just going over what I didn't do. Critic.
Yeah.
That's what was going on, was the critic part of me.
Yeah. So if I would have taken you a little bit longer, more
Mhm.
profoundly in there, you would have been able to go a little bit more of surrendering that and being like, okay, I get it. You're trying to protect me.
Mhm.
Your nervous system's trying to indicate, wait, we made a mistake. And before we weren't allowed to do that.
Right.
We're not human. We're not allowed to do that.
Mhm.
So more than likely, what happens when we have this is that from a young age, you were instilled that if you don't have perfection, you're not going to have a sense of belonging or a sense of worth, or that you're
Mhm.
valued you are only valued when things are perfect.
Perfect. Right.
And you're not going to be safe in this world if you don't have things perfect.
Right.
And so
Exactly.
your nervous system is always on the default of, we got to protect ourselves.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
what you have done to be able to engage with that is, I'm here now. Like Cassandra is here now. Cassandra, where people talk about the inner child work,
Right.
It's recognizing your nervous system of, okay, there's not these caretakers or parents that we need to depend on. We're safe. And we're safe to be able to feel whatever we're feeling, and especially the fear, and be able to navigate still and take some steps in that fear to go
Mm-hmm.
through the fire, it per se.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and that is what that inner child and that maturing and growing means. Because a
Right.
lot of us are still seeking, can somebody else tell me everything's going to be okay?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Mm-hmm.
that sense of validation.
Right.
So your nervous system was doing exactly what it's annoying, because you're
Yeah.
like, I already know not to do this.
Right. Right.
Yeah, when you do more of listening to the breathing, you can start to disidentify with it, that you don't need to listen to it. You can just let
Okay.
it rant
Right.
and go on, but I don't need to listen to you anymore. It's just like, if you're a parent or you have your fur baby, when it's yelping and stuff, there's certain parts where you can let it yelp and it doesn't bother you. Other times it can really get
Right.
to you. But
Right.
the more and more you can just, you know what, that's your stuff, it's not mine. So the
Mm-hmm.
nervous system's just trying to protect you, where it's like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't need to listen to that. I get that there's a fear that something bad is going to happen
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because of this.
Mm-hmm.
Because what people don't realize, for the nervous system, death is death. Not, and failure feels like death to the nervous system. Embarrassment feels like death to the nervous system. It's
Mm-hmm.
painful. So
Mm-hmm.
it wants to protect you from feeling those feelings.
Right. Okay.
But once you
Okay.
start feeling them and you show, we can navigate through those waves. It's okay.
Right. So that's a tool that can be used to be not only truthful to yourself, but for the listeners who are stuck, that's been wanting to write that book or change jobs or get out of a relationship. There's something going on, um, perhaps that's protecting them while they won't make the move. They won't take action on things of that nature.
We have conflict. There's always conflict in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want? I want the divorce, but I don't really want the divorce. I
Mm-hmm.
want my partner to change, but I don't want to do the work in the changing. Yet,
Mm-hmm.
so let me just do the divorce because I know that's what's best for me. But really, I'm still longing to still be in this marriage, but I can't stay in it because it's not working and my worth isn't. And I have to look at what I've enabled.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want
Mm-hmm.
to still stay in the marriage, that means you have to do the work within yourself. But you think, if I just divorce,
Right.
everything will fix itself. And it's like, well, no, you're going to repeat the pattern. We're
Mm-hmm.
pattern makers.
Mm.
You have
Okay.
to be honest about that. Like, intellectually, you can understand that something's toxic for yourself. Yet your nervous system, you can't override it. So if it doesn't feel that there's safety in the change that you're trying to make, it will do all kinds of things to stay where you're used to in your patterns.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to face yourself and face that nervous
Okay.
system, that we're going to go through change. We're going to go into the unknown and the unsafety, and we're okay with it. Like, I'm not separating from self anymore. I'm going to feel my emotions, and I'm going to feel my vulnerability, and still keep taking baby steps. Because
Right.
this stuff isn't overnight success.
Right. Right.
It's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. But
Mm-hmm.
we want to just get the elephant all over. And it's like, a lot of people have the misconception also that healing is about being a new person. And it's not that. It's healing is removing the layers of pain to come back to your greatness that's already inside you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's why you are, and that's probably defines the energy healing specialist that you are. It's all about energy,
It
right?
is.
Okay.
Because
Do you? Go ahead.
we're feeling bodies that think. When you go into a room, how many times does your gut tell you, something's not right?
Mm-hmm.
And how often do you listen to it?
Mm-hmm. Um, it depends. Like if you want to go with your intuition, then you know something's not right.
Yeah.
Right. But yet you don't like, okay, I think then you talk yourself out of it because you want to be safe. You want to be comfortable with it. rather than making the move because you know something's not right. It's no different
Exactly.
than being in a relationship and you
Yeah.
know it's something. People call them red flags.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yet it's something, but yet you still go into it.
Exactly. And then there's also green flags, and we don't
Mm-hmm.
want to really focus on the green flags.
Mm-hmm. And
Especially if you've had trauma, you're very easy to find all the negative, yet you have to
right,
open yourself up to receive the good, and that you're
right.
deserving to have good in your life. You're deserving to have a soft and easy life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's work.
So that gift that you had when you were in the government, you know how someone said people just open up to you. Um, at the time, you probably didn't question it anymore because that's the way it was. You know, they just tell you everything, they just spill it all out. Based on that gift, do you believe that that gift is helping you with your business?
Oh
Because
yeah.
you, okay.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's what I do is I help co-regulate with people. So their
Mm-hmm.
nervous system feels safe to surrender. And then
Mm-hmm.
that's where the honesty can come in, because the amount of times I would be a millionaire, the amount of times that I've heard people, strangers, start talking to me and they're like, I've never told anybody this. I don't even know
Mm-hmm.
why I'm telling you this.
Right.
And before in my head, I'd be like, I don't even know why you're telling me this. Like,
Right.
why, what's, yet it's that safety that people feel
Mm-hmm.
safe around me
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
just feel that they can be seen in their naked truth. And they're
Exactly.
not going to be weaponized. They're not going to be vilified, and that there's acceptance.
Yeah. That's, I never thought of it that way. I talked about that in my book, how you know, I traveled a lot, I flew a lot, and I met my most amazing time was the people. Whoever I sat by, they tell me everything. And I was like, why are they telling me this? You know, then I think that probably because they won't see me again. You know, so I dismissed it like, oh, they just won't see me again. Then there's some that says, I like to stay in touch with you. Can I get your information? So I like that spin you put on it. For me not to be like, what, you know, so what? Maybe I had they felt a safe space, or I was exuding, you know, vulnerability and trust, or whatever. So I like the way that you put that scenario. That was great.
It's
Great.
safety. It's safety.
Hmm.
We're not
Hmm.
going to be honest if we don't feel safe. We
Right.
lie because we don't feel safe.
Right.
Our truth isn't acceptable. We learn
No.
to lie before we learn to tell the truth, because
Hmm.
truth has consequences. People say they can handle the truth, yet it doesn't go to their standards.
Wow. That's good. Not. That's good. Not. How can my listeners get in touch with you?
My website's liftoneself.com. So that's
Mhm.
liftoneself.com. They
Mhm.
can message me there. They can also do a 15-minute discovery call to see if we
Okay.
can work together. I
Okay.
also, like you mentioned, I have a podcast that's
Mhm.
called Lift Oneself.
Mhm.
And I'm also on social media where I leave a lot of free content there so that people can, engage in different tools, or all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, you're in my head. You're saying exactly what my experience is.
Right.
And the reason why I want to do that is because I want realness in social media. Like, a lot of people are struggling mentally. Like, a friend of mine died of mental health like 3 weeks ago. And so there's a lot of darkness that people don't even know how to reveal to other people because there's so much judgment. And a lot of
Mhm.
people don't even know how to really talk about mental health, or,
Mhm.
what suicidal ideation is, or they just feel that I don't want to burden anybody else, or I
Right.
don't want to inconvenience, where it's
Right.
like, you know what? We have to open up as a village and community to let people know, no, you belong.
Mhm. Good. Excellent. Excellent. Well, my listeners, you heard Not. She has provided a lot of what I call nuggets, but I also want to call sprinkles of diamonds. I mean, just if, and I would highly recommend that you listen to this podcast over, because there are a lot of things, you know, people say you get some things and you don't. And I think, and not that I think, I know that you'll hear something that you didn't hear the first time. And I also know that you are in that space that she was talking about and think about what are some things, why you haven't moved forward, why are you stuck, why are you in your way, and I know not shared some things that even though you don't want to, you're like, nah, you're uncomfortable with it, but still, I just think, and I know, I don't want to say think, I know there are some nuggets in here that's going to help you move forward, and it's going to enable you to do a lot of self-reflection on this conversation. So I want to thank you, Not. I could talk to you more and more, but we don't have that time. But I say again that this podcast is going to be on all platforms. And I want to thank you, Not. I want to thank you for sharing. How can we be truthful to me? And thanks again. God bless you, and bye for now.
Bye. And remember to be kind to yourself.
Yes.